Okay, so welcome everyone. So glad to have you here for the June Poems from Connecticut's Four Corners. We have a really wonderful spoken word showcase for you this evening with four poets. Very excited to host these four poets. We're going to, after tonight, we'll be taking a 2-month hiatus, but we'll be back in September. So I'm sure you'll receive emails about that. We have a great lineup. I'm going to keep it kind of secret, but we have 5 amazing poets lined up for September. So but let me just get started here. I want to thank Lucy Hanley and the Ridgefield Library for hosting us, always being such a good host and letting us use their Zoom and welcoming us and all sorts of poetic activities in their auspices. So anyway, let me get started. I'll introduce the first of our poets for this evening. By the way, I will also put the poet's biography in the chat, so you can, if there's any questions you have, you'd be more than welcome to take a look there and find out the information. Okay, so the newly appointed Poet Laureate of New Haven, Sharmont Influence Little, is a poet, activist, actor, and advocate for inner city youth. He has performed at Yale, Virginia State, and Boston universities, plus many other colleges and public schools, as well as at historic poetry venues like the New Yorican Poets Cafe. Influence is a 6-time member of the Connecticut Slam team, Verbal Slap, and he coached the 2017 Verbal Slap team and the 2021 Yale University Poetry Slam team. The creator of Influence a Life, LLC, a curriculum-based program teaching coping skills, social skills, and conflict resolution. Influence utilizes spoken word poetry to deliver Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s message, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. He lives by his motto, influence a life every day, it's just a way of living. So welcome, Sharmont, Influence Little.
Thank you. How you doing?
Great.
All right. So I guess I'm getting started. Trying to figure out what I wanted to do today. So I'm kind of embedded in family. So I'm going to do a poem first, and then I'm going to get in kind of to like family poems and stuff like that. So we'll see. It doesn't matter what you hear on this stage tonight. I need you to understand that the revolution is not a poem. It's not held in line by 28 rules or set in between 2 margins. I never seen a revolution take a bow or have a room full of spectators applaud it. It's never schemed on rhymes or presented punctual punchlines. In fact, the only connection the revolution has the configured diction that it was born from the word tired, of being distressed, overworked, worn out, and frustrated. Like my sisters are frustrated because their deadbeat baby fathers don't bother. All they do is create little boys that play with toys that lack a progressive positive influence, who then become big boys playing with rags, hanging out of back pockets, now crying along the street corners. So now those tears, you see those tears become libation for lost years. Absorbed in the concrete, they reveal the footprints of how these sisters now walk these streets, because there's no secret that she gives all her secrets to Victoria and Calvin, who's more inclined to disrespect her, when the hieroglyphs on Kunta's back should have been a revolution that compelled him to protect her. It's that he neglects her, buying her soul and selling his own for diamonds and costs, and now Master gets a 2-for-1 deal. That's why I tell these poets to spit from your soul, because this thing is real. But yet what's more important is your actions when they stop their hand and clapping, because you see, a revolution is not a poem. If it was, way before Barack and Michelle was on the scene, our children would have known that intellectual elegance is reachable. See, this thing here is teachable, but poets got to walk through the words they spitting through. I'm tired of poets that scream Black Lives Matter, but the only time they sit in is at open mics. The only time they feel like they dying is when they losing the slam. I need them to understand, doesn't matter how many degrees you reach for, that just becomes your degree of separation, your disconnection from your people. If you don't let them know these hymns you spitting from your soul is spiritual, you see, egos have permeated this oral tradition. Poets have become the equivalent of ministers preaching for skirts and not religion. So most what you see on this stage is revolutionary. It's just well-written, illusional commentary. I'm talking about poetic cinematography, poetic minds trapped behind the moving bars of capitalism. So what they're spitting for is commissary, trapping your mind until you scream, set us free like Sinke, because they're still lost in translation. Because the truth is, most poets wouldn't know that unless they got slapped in the face with a revolution. You see, they just spitting solutions, but words without actions become progressive constipation, like postpartum depression. They don't want to handle the real issues. But here's real talk. While you outline white paper with black ink, my black babies are still being outlined in white chalk.
Right.
So if you enter these poetry dens with the mindset of upping your Facebook friends or packing your fist for the dividends, then the 3 minutes of this here joint, you've completely missed the point. The poetry is meant to pierce your soul, creating action, producing productivity. You see, spoken word burns in my soul deeply, but not at the pace of losing my beautiful babies to a bunch of paper revolutionaries. Yes. So that poem is basically about being who you say you are type thing, right? So today I've been on a few Zooms today, so I was asked some really pertinent questions, and so I want to read some poems, some shorter poems about family. So this one is called God to Me. My mother is baby, I love you, and boy, I will beat the black off you. My mother is a long Jerry curl, look wet but no drip, to an Afrocentric lock stay twisted. She is no formal medical degree but can nurse you to health from her kitchen cabinet. She is a stone face with a giving heart. She is multiple abusive relationships, but she is, I will drink my pain away. My mother is, I'm leaving rehab early. There is no relapse in the blood of this Cherokee African queen. My mother is an alcoholic death and a self-resurrection. My mother is God. Because only a woman like her could turn her pain into a home that felt like heaven. Who told me, baby, we may live in the ghetto, but we are nobody's footstool. See, my mother may have drunk herself into dehydration, but not one day did I go unnourished. The hell with water and wine. Try only having a half a pack of hamburger and 3 eggs and feed an entire family. No one goes hungry. She is the blackest of pro-black women. She is son. You will not disrespect her. I am your mother, but I am a woman first. I am she. My mother has been my greatest teacher, my greatest supporter, and stronger than I can ever imagine to be. She is everything to me. My mother is simply God. Let's go on. So during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to teach a bunch of classes, and I talked to a lot of parents, and they were going through so much through the pandemic. So I haven't read this poem in quite a while, but it's again about parenting and family. My mother once told me, there ain't no teaching book that comes with being a parent. You never needed a doctorate degree to diagnose pain or fear, to know when your child's tears are full of joy or full of, man, I done messed up now. There was no acting class to show how to use your eyes to say I love you, to say no, to say ask me again. No one told you some nights you may go hungry just so their bellies can look like healthy fruit baskets. That you staying up all night worrying is worse than any nightmare you can have while sleeping. See, no one told you you would have to do K through 12th grade all over again, trying to figure out how these new figures add up, figuring out how not enough money will fit into too many bills. I mean, no one told you parenting would be a covert operation trying to battle COVID-19 like you now have 19 new ways to tell your child everything is going to be okay. Parents, I salute you, because I know firsthand exactly what you go through. This pandemic has not diminished the hope to heal. You have turned your living rooms into playgrounds. Your kitchens have become art studios. Your dining room tables is now where you do your best therapy. All while trying to keep your own sanity, trying to be your own inspiration while you inspire your whole household. The etymology of the word parenting means to bring forth. So when you look in the mirror in the morning, take a bow and say, I did it. When you get that moment of peace, tell yourself, I did it, because you have. Despite this daunting task, you have brought forth beautiful, intelligent, inspired young people without a handbook. For that alone, you deserve a hug. Thank you. So give COVID-19 the finger and take a bow, because you deserve it. I'm trying to find the last one. Barb, you're gonna have to tell me when I can stop, because besides reading these poems, I got another 30 in my head.
Oh, you have another good 10 minutes.
So okay, cool. So this one, you're gonna hear a couple about my daughters. This one is about my firstborn. In case you didn't know, being a father, a daddy, however you want to describe this journey, didn't come with instructions. The compass guiding me on this path was that of love. As your mother held you under her heart, I held you within mine. Every heartbeat I heard changed the trajectory of my blood flow. My heart no longer beats for my survival. I survive only for you. I don't hurt for what may happen to me. I hurt for what may happen to you. I don't pray for me. I pray for you. I mean, I prayed for you. You were the first thing I ever asked God for. Not the immaculate conception, but your conception was immaculate. It's the purest and the cleanest thing I have ever done. See, I planned for your arrival. The first 10 years of your education was paid for before your feet ever touched the floor. Taught you everything I knew about history so you can create your own story. Taught you to speak your mind, but never mind what society speaks about you. Never suffocate yourself just so other people can breathe. If you didn't know, my life goal was only to protect you, be your protector. Even when you did wrong, they better chalk it up to life lessons and never lay a hand on you. This sentiment will stretch a lifetime as your youthful skin extends into a beautiful woman until you say, I love him, and it holds true for someone other than me. I hope you understand I love you, precious, no pressure. You are the most beautiful diamond to me. This doesn't mean I want your heart to harden, but I want no one to wear you like costume jewelry. You don't deserve to be tarnished or broken. You deserve to be happy, for whatever that means for you. I want you to have the imagination to imagine aging prosperously while having the perspective of passing it on to your beautiful babies. Hoping some of me rubs off inspiring memories that spring smiles across your face, so your path through life will be adorned with the memories that my daddy has always and always will love me. Okay. How many more minutes I got? Okay. So next poem about my daughters. One of my more popular ones. When you have a daughter, braiding hair isn't just braiding hair. It's a process. Wash. Keep her thoughts clean to help bring up the dandruff for the world. Condition. To recondition her roots so she realizes she's not a black, broken, brittle piece of herself. Blow dry. Medium to low heat. Protect the history of her roots. Seal in your lessons. You see, this is a process because these lion relaxers will rip her from her culture like native tongues are ripped from her mouth. You see, when men have daughters, we hear, you're going to reap what you sow. I mean, what goes around comes around. So I part their hair straight to continue the path of angels sleeping in the nappy-headed roots, because equality can't be boxed in a box braid. So I grease up with black gospel verses, putting the Holy Ghost in my combs, because ethnic roots are blessed with trials and tribulations. Like when white counselors told my daughter that she can only choose community colleges, but universities show her the money with full-fledged educational scholarships. Braiding hair isn't just braiding hair. Style it with a spiritual connection. A beautiful three-strand trinity. Father, daughter, holy bond. Blessed be the shotgun for the prom date. This ain't just braiding hair. So I braid underhanded to hide my fears of black girl magic. Because black girls are vanishing just like black boys. They go missing like barrettes when a Mayor Rice gets shot, everyone forgets about Rakia Boyd, Ayanna Jones, Sandra Bland. These women have fathers like me that will go into Walmart to grab period pillows, rags, sanitary napkins, tampons, and dare somebody to say something. They can catch these shea buttered anointed hands. See, this is more than just braids and ponytails. These are open conversations. Like, daddy, why can't I date him? Didn't you sell drugs? Like, daddy, I think she wants to take me to the dance. This is more than just braiding hair. This is therapy. This is baby. I put the drugs away a long time ago because you're the only potent substance I wanted to handle. It's baby. You can choose whoever you want. Just remember that daddy loves you. Because, baby girl, your path won't be easy. You can't be tender-headed. You got to be able to handle any style. Because this world will twist, lock you up, ban you into knots because they dread your existence. This is not about braiding your hair. It's about quality time, ending daddy issues, being your shoulder, but you not needing it, unapologetically independent and showing unconditional love when this world gives you conditions. So even when my hands cramp, I will wash, dry, part, grease, twist, and braid my life around yours because it's always been about loving you and never been about braiding your hair. Thank y'all very much. Thank you.
Absolutely my favorite poem. Thank you for sharing that one.
Not a problem.
Cool. Now, Sharmont, as he mentioned, he had already had 3 other Zooms today, and he has to dash off to a live open mic tonight. So, a busy man. That New Haven Poet Laureate is a busy soul. So, thank you, Sharmont. Love your work. I love it very much.
I appreciate it very, very much. Very, very much.
Oh.
So I will be, I will try to stay on for a couple more minutes while I put my shoes on, and then I will have to jump off and take that ride from New Haven to Bridgeport. Okay, so so everyone else, please have a great show and more poems for everybody.
And Peggy D. Shea put in the chat, Happy Father's Day. And
thank you very, very much.
A little early, but happy Father's
Day. Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Peace, Daddy.
Oh.
Yo, what's up, brother?
That's good. Okay, next up, I have a very short bio for a very big poet whose work I have admired long. Having been a former teacher and knowing the work that Elizabeth Thomas has done with young poets, I can't commend her enough. So her official biography is just this. Elizabeth Thomas is a published writer and performer. She hosts workshops and readings for all ages, but she's way more than that. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thank you so much for asking me to be part of this. I do just want to start with, and I tell my students all the time, don't make excuses before you get started, but I am nursing a head cold here. So I'm hoping my voice stays with me and is not too nasally. I would like to just say to Influence before he leaves that I too was like I was going back to poems about family in a way that I don't typically do when I'm going to do a reading like this. So that was interesting to me also. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. So I do have a few family poems in the set tonight, but I did want to start with something that a poem that it's sort of like my signature poem, I guess, if anybody has if I had any signature poem at all, and it's called Revelation. I wrote it very, very early on in my career, working in the classroom. It actually happened pretty much the way I say it in the piece, and then the poem just wrote itself, which was so thrilling to me. It's called Revelation. His t-shirt says, I am God. And I think, well, my lucky day, I'll run over, shake his hand, ask for an autograph. I might never have this chance again. But as God sits there waiting to step into the vice principal's office, I look closely at his faded t-shirt, 2 sizes too big, sneakers older than he is, thin legs swinging, barely long enough to reach the floor, dirty hands massaging a dirty forehead, and think, this is not God. This is a little boy who may be swore in the lavatory or tussled on the playground, a child who probably forgot to eat breakfast, did not expect a goodbye kiss. When he gets home from school today, he will let himself in with the key that hangs around his neck. He might help himself to Twinkies or a glass of Coke, a microwave pizza in front of the TV. Struggling to raise his head, the circles under his eyes slope down toward his chin, pick up the lines around his mouth and carry it down as well. It's not easy taking care of the world. Using the back of his hand, he trails snot and tears across his face into his hair, which heads out in all directions, as if just lifted from a pillow. He looks neglected, like homework after a long weekend. This boy ain't been loved in a long time. I want to walk over, kneel on both knees, use my sleeve to clean his cheeks, tie his sneakers. He looks up, and in his eyes, I see my own son. Unable to look away, I want to say something, make some excuse, beg for forgiveness. But this is God. What could I possibly say that he does not already know? Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Um, this is called, again, from the classroom, um, on words and English teachers, just the other end of the classroom. Hello, my name's Elizabeth, and I am an addict. I have struggled my entire life, born with this craving, passed on to me from both my parents. As an infant, I could not sleep without it. No amount of rocking or binkies or passies helped quell my desire. I needed what I needed. A bedtime story. A bedtime story complete with happy ending, preferably read by my father, since he did better voices than Mom. Dad reveled in his role as primary pusher until I found a new connection on the playground of first grade. Mrs. Dodge and her wooden leg, a fascination for any 6-year-old. The thunk, thunk of her cane was an immediate call to attention. She smelled like chalk dust and chocolate, and on Friday mornings, she'd pick me to read from the red velvet chair at the front of the classroom. I longed to show the pictures to the class and hungered for the smell of each page, but the words, it was the words I craved. How they tumbled, bumped my tongue and teeth, the way they tasted like bubblegum birthday cake exploding in my mouth like pop rocks on acid. There was no kicking this habit. Finally, my own chubby fingers became nimble and learned what it took to spark the page. I wrote my own stories, pages now torn and yellowed, held together with orange faded yarn, strung through loose leaf holes, jumbled in a box somewhere in my basement. That year, our family moved away from the familiar old neighborhood and left everyone behind. Words became my only friends, and I gathered them like some kids collect common like some kids collect baseball cards or rocks. I hoarded homonyms and palindromes, ornyms and curse words. I owned a special library card and wrote my first poem that year, feeding an increasing ache. In high school, Mr. Secord believed thoughts and words were often messy. Some of the best ones spilled beyond the margins of the page, and Miss Saul and Mrs. Nicholson encouraged me to find them. Then, pregnant at 16, Riding became the white horse I couldn't kick. I clung to that tail through years of uncertainty, using poetry to puzzle out questions with no answers. While the rest of my life dissolved around me, I felt complete with a pencil in my hand. These days, I don't even try to hide it. I'm proud to say, hey, my name's Elizabeth, and I'm an addict. Hey, kid, come here. I've got something for you. I think you're gonna like it. Thank you. And I don't generally go with too much rhyme, but this poem just sort of told itself this way. So it's called Are You Listening? Again, from the classroom. As teacher, I listen to the words of our children, the poets and prophets, the loners and lost ones, the lines that they write through clenched teeth and veins, words spilling over till nothing remains, while margins expand from the weight of their witness, their hearts crack like fractions that nothing contains. These years when I listen don't know how they journey past splintering bullets, past standardized tests, each stutter breath filled with bravado as they crouch in a closet, dive under a desk. Lives are unhinging while classrooms now lock. These are the lessons our children are taught as we struggle with freedoms and reap what we've wrought. He is 11, going on ancient. Money is tight, father long gone. His face is a mask and he's dying behind it. Alone in the corner, so much can go wrong. She is 13, wants someone to love her, but thinks she's too fat, her braces too bright, though she's willing to do whatever it takes to look perfect and airbrushed. Who cares that it's fake? What makes you happy? I question these children. They're finally quiet with glazed over eyes. I want to help them unclench their fists, right past the pain, revise their lives. I ask, what's on your mind? Their faces blank pages like no one but Facebook has asked them this question. This is so hard, says a girl in the back row, and I take a deep breath. She's not the exception. I wish to offer them hugs and erasers, pencils and fist bumps and limitless paper, a safe place for tears, a night sky to write on, their words bursting forth like shooting star dreams, a faith that the future is not what it seems. Thank you. So I belong to a group of friends. We've known each other. One of the women in the group I've known since third grade. She's my best friend. She doesn't live far away. We hang out. She did recently, just a little over a year ago, have a heart transplant. And I have other friends that I've known since middle school, and we call ourselves the Daughters of Diminished Capacity. And we swear we're going to take care of each other as we age. So this is called On Friendship, Key West, 2023. We played hide and seek, played hit the bat, played doctor and dance band, skinned elbows and asses. We've shouldered each other through many a crisis, crazy adventures. Now we talk chemo, talk heart transplant, talk elder care, dementia. We don't spread out our anxieties like cards, but we don't hide them either. We talk coping, talk light. We become landing strips, welcoming each other home. We are quieter than we once were. No yellow-fringed motorcycle, no bubbles in a crowded hot tub, no Hubble telescope on a Cape Cod beach, no upside-down tequila shots. But we can still rock a 3 to 6 p.m. happy hour. We move slower, less destination. Our aches and pains often louder than our laughter. Now we languish over breakfast and coffee, check our phones, order binoculars from Audubon, do research on the perfect beach umbrella. It's 6 p.m. and Terry is painting a watercolor of today's blue on blue line of horizon, while Lucy looks up a seafood recipe she will cook us for dinner. Bella and I just returned from sunset, so I open a bottle of wine, find pink on Pandora. We all start singing. I will be with you until the world blows up. That's all I know so far. Thank you. Excuse me. And like I had said earlier, to influence, I was thinking about my mom actually a lot today. And this is called Still Life number 2. She lights a cigarette off the stove, folds 4 sugars into coffee made hours ago, sits at the kitchen table, junk mail and Post-its piled at her elbow amid crumbs from a late night snack. She stirs and stares into her favorite mug, handmade by a grandson long ago, listens for the creak of the mailbox closing, the groan of the bed in the next room, the soothing buzz of television. Watching birds feed outside the parlor window, she worries there won't be enough seed for tomorrow. Smoke from her cigarette drifts slowly away. A forgotten pink curler hangs above her shoulder. Flour sprinkles the sleeve of her sweater. Dropping the cigarette into her cup, she picks up a cookbook she will read like a novel, wonders what to make for supper. Thank you. So I would like to follow that with, this is not, see how much time I have. This is not a, it's sort of a poem, I guess, but it's not quite written like a poem. In 1996, my mom had emergency surgery for a brain aneurysm. And 3 days later, my father had a massive stroke. And they lived for several years after that. And I was their one of their primary caregivers. So without writing to help me make sense of everything that was going on, you know, I think I would have curled myself around a rock somewhere and just, disappeared or something. So this is called Happy Happy Land. I'm rubbing Bengay onto my mother's thin shoulders. She says, "Sometimes I wonder why I'm not dead." And I say, "Huh?" And she says, "I'm 84 and feel like hell. People die all the time. Why can't I die too?" And I say, "Well, Ma, what do you think happens when you die?" And she says, "Well, if you're lucky, I guess you go to Happy Happy Land." We were brought up Catholic, complete with cheese pizza on Friday, church on Sunday, and every holy day of obligation. So I say, "You mean like heaven?" And she says, "I don't believe in heaven." And I'm shocked. I say, "What do you mean no heaven? What's Happy Happy Land then?" And she says, It's where you're always happy. And I say, oh, and then she says, and if you were bad when you were alive, you turn into a rock and someone kicks you down the street. And I say, and if you're good, you go to Happy Happy Land? And she says, I think when we die, we go into another person. We become a baby again and forget about our pain and our old life. Again, I'm completely stunned. She's never been philosophical, never talked much about death or spirituality, and certainly never let on that she believes in reincarnation. I stop rubbing her shoulders and ask, do you believe in God? She pauses before saying, I believe in something bigger. And I say, you pray though, I've seen you. She says, yeah, but we just talk, like I talk to you or your brothers. And I say, about what? Well, she says, mostly I ask that you would all stay safe. And sometimes we talk about new recipes. My mother and I never spoke like this to each other, and I felt so blessed to be there. Then she adds, and I ask that you would all be happy because it's hard, unless there is a happy, happy land. And I say, do you think you'll be happier in your new life? I hope so, she says. Wouldn't that be nice? Yes, Mom, it would, I say. This sharp odor of Bengay causing my eyes to tear up. Thank you. And I'm just going to end with a poem on gratitude. I like ending with this poem. If I forget to say, this is for gratitude. You are present in the plum wine hue of autumn leaves, that final hearty push of the season, the labor of harvest before frost, the honk of geese heading home, the alleluia of a good night's rest. You resonate in beginnings, the first slap, then cry, the counting of fingers and toes. You are first kisses and fist bumps, the expectation of goodness to come. You wear yourself well in the everyday. He's lost, then found, wayward sunglasses settled on our heads. The chirp of the car engine on cold winter mornings. Green lights all the way. You thrive in the company of high fives and revel in the amens. And yes, your shudder is felt in the convulsing embrace of that mother, but not that one, outside a school in Sandy Hook, Uvalde, Texas, a shopping mall in Massachusetts. You can be such a fickle bitch. Yet when we lie in bed, unable to sleep, and the phone rings at 3 a.m., we will sing your praises fully beyond the margins of this page for a wrong number. Thank you.
Wonderful. I put in the chat, by the way, that the book that Elizabeth mentioned a couple of times, that she read some poems from in the beginning, is called From the Front of the Classroom, and it's a really wonderful book. So be sure to look for it at your or order it through your favorite independent bookstore. How's that? All right. So last, but oh no, not last yet. I'm sorry. Our third poet this evening. Sorry. And I'm really delighted to have him with us tonight. Frederick-Douglass Knowles II is a professor of English at Connecticut State Community College, the Three Rivers campus. He is an Emeritus Poet Laureate of Hartford, Connecticut. Knowles has been the recipient of the Nutmeg Poetry Award and the Connecticut of the Arts Fellow in Artist Excellence for Poetry, Creative Nonfiction. He is a two-time Pushcart Prize nominee and the author of BlackRoseCity, another really stunningly beautiful poetry book. So please welcome Frederick-Douglass Knowles II.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just going to get right into it. Following the theme of thematic of family too, I have a poem here about my mom I'll get to in a moment. But first poem I'd like to read is a poem. Recently received a grant from the Cultural Coalition to put on an event on problem gambling in southeastern Connecticut. And so I put on an event called Bet on Black, which I took from roulette. And so this first poem is a poem I wrote thematically for that event that Sharmont was part of, and also Antoinette and a few other state poet laureates, city town poet laureates. So Bet on Black. Oh, just a little historical context. So I grew up in the same neighborhood that Mohegan Sun is at. I grew up literally 5 minutes down the road. So as a kid, I used to play in that vacant parking lot before it became the massive monolith that it is today. Bet on Black. I bet you never bet that before Mohegan Sun built its own sun, that I used to walk the sacred grounds of its vacant lot, skipping rocks across the Thames River, betting my friends that my smooth stone would glide further. No money exchange, just sandlot pride. I bet you never bet that if James Baldwin's Beale Street could talk, it'd tell you about the corner convenient and video store at the end of New London Turnpike, between Norwich and Uncasville, where we rented videos and they would unwind like a used VHS tape. That building was razed to the ground to make more room for a stop sign. I bet you never bet that 12.2% of problem gambling would be Black. Black, not in roulette, but in life. 2 casinos promising paradise while free-falling American dreams like Twin Towers. Someone call 911, or better yet, 988, to help those with suicidal tendencies to escape the allure of ending their life because their pockets are tight. 40% of our vets losing the battle of breathing to economic war. I bet you never bet that buck that bought a bottle could have struck the lotto. Rapper Nas mentality that led me to the lottery line, stacking lotto papers, not to play numbers, but to pack powder white, to sell to Black folk with lost hope, with low self-esteem, the Freddy Krueger of their dreams, until I had an awakening to close my Coke casino like De Niro. I bet you never bet how many ways you can bet on losing your money, Black. CT lottery, lotto, Powerball, Mega Million, Cash 5, daily numbers, play 4, scratch off track betting, blackjack, poker, slot machine, roulette, online sports betting, where you can be drafted king to lose your own Vietnam, dropping B-52 bingo bombs on your family, where just one person with a gambling problem can affect 7 to 12% of your household. Time to fold your hand at the poker table and pray. Pray, Black, for the strength to keep your money in your home. Pray, Black, that you listen to your children's voices when they ask you to come home. Pray, Black, that the 49.8% of gamblers who have a high school education or less smarten up, or the 25% with college degrees become smarter. Once upon a time, freedom used to be life. Now it's money. Lena Younger's line from A Raisin in the Sun. Lorraine Hansberry must have been prophetic about Mohegan Sun, how it would defer defer, and shrivel your dream inside a room with no windows. I bet you never bet, Black, that passenger 57, Wesley Snipes, was right. Always bet on Black, the color of your skin, to win at your own game. You can choose to self-exclude, put your name on the blacklist to keep you out of the casinos and at home. Take that app off your phone. And when you get paid, stay home, because the house always wins. And when we spend 1.5 billion in a year, our home just may no longer be ours. If money makes a man strange, then we got to rearrange. So what makes the world go round? If loving is against the law, listen, I don't know. We got to change the way it's going down. A little De La Soul flow. It's so easy to bet on Black, a 50-50 stake. And when you make a mistake, just wait for the answers to come, or reach out to Connecticut Council on Problem Gambling or the Department of Mental Health or the Cultural Coalition, so we can become a people better with better odds. Bet on Amen, the actual name of God. Because if you're a gambler, if you're a problem gambler, there comes a time when you got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough to count it when the dealing's done. Thank you. This next poem, it's on a manuscript I completed entitled Sinking in Moonlight Alone, which is a majority of elegies to family and friends who have passed away. This one is for my nephew, who was a Marine vet and had a drug addiction and unfortunately succumbed to the opioid crisis. And I don't know if you remember, a few years back, there was a big case with Insys Therapeutics and the owner, John Kapoor. He came under fire, and he had actually hired strippers to become saleswomen to push opioids and oxy onto the doctors to write the scripts. And they made a movie about it recently. So I had written this poem titled Unicorns, coming from the Bible, Isaiah or something, but there's mentions of unicorns and dragons and satyrs, which are half human, half man, half beasts, animals. And I found it quite interesting. And unicorns have a mythical power of healing. And so I had wrote this poem, and Elizabeth, you had mentioned something about a white horse and addiction, and that's what heroin is called, or was called. And you zebra mark your veins. So this poem is called Unicorns, and it's to John Kapoor. Dear John, when I noticed my nephew, Xavier, nocturnal-eyed, snow Lexus bawling through the parking lot of our local bar, when the car slowed, when we locked eyes, avoiding reasons for creeping after midnight, I didn't know. My sister, over her mantle, displays a veteran pic of her only child, a Marine uniformed in blue dress, white cover cap, American flag cropping his shoulder. She woke her grandsons early that morning, John, told them the milk in their father's eyes had spoiled. Can you hear them, John? His eyes assured by your commercials that oxy wasn't addictive. Do you read the Bible, John? Know your scripture. Isaiah 34 reveals the role of dragons, satyrs, and unicorns. Which one are you? For the Lord hath the sacrifice, the blood of 500,000 opioid stuffed lambs, slaughtered like the fat of the kidneys of rams. Like Xavier, John, my nephew, whose tears swelled with nightmares, the ones he wished slept in stone, the ones he never told his mother, never shared with his sons, the ones his eyes after midnight cried PTSD, tours of duty inside the VA, how after the refills weren't filled, heroin zebra marked his veins. Can you see them, John? The hoof prints of the white horse, the hornless one trampling his black skin. Can you see, John, that you are no saint, but a satyr who shall cry to his fellow after being sentenced to 66 months for making millions, that your half man, half bestial behavior severed the horns of Amen's creatures, sent to heal the wounded, to heal Xavier and protect the purple hearts of heroes. This next one I'll read. These next two are for my mom. My mom recently passed last year. And so we were actually, she was living with my sister, and we were taking turns spending the night with her because she could no longer live by herself. And so it was my turn to actually watch her. And so we grew up right across the street from the college I teach at, Three Rivers. And my sister lives right down the street. So I actually was going to work. So I was staying at my sister's house and then driving down the street, literally like a minute to go to work. So this one is titled 9 to 5. I clock into this recliner at bedtime, 8 p.m., first class to teach, 9:30 a.m. My students are curious about my early absences. First week of school, no class. Third week, no class on Tuesdays, emailing my department chair and dean, uploading assignments to Blackboard. My tenure as an English professor pays in salary. No pressure to monitor my weekly, hourly commitment to analyzing Marxist theory in O'Brien's The Things They Carried. No, in my sister's home, this recliner is my time card. The night shift, bedside, next to my mother, who squeezes my hand, creases a smile every time I trace her peaceful eyes. It's midnight as she fades in and out of an ethereal dream, barely awake, yet not quite asleep. She retired from the state hospital many years ago, breathing now her labor. Dementia works each breath like a 9 to 5. Each chest heave, a migrant worker threatening to quit if it doesn't receive equal pay. I pay close attention to the releasing and tightening of my own breaths, an understudy of hers, anxious of each exhale, thankful for every inhale, a sign that her clock hasn't unwound, her heart hasn't kipped on the job. But I am well too familiar with Marxist manifesto, the catalyst of Labor Day. Soon Her breaths will ask for their break, call out sick, put in for personal time. And what can I do? I'm only an employee, a proletariat in the factory of her first name, LaForest. God is her supervisor. Only he can fire her lungs or demand their resignation or offer them a Timex and a golden handshake, thank them for their service, praise them for a job well done. You know what's funny about that one I do with the younger generation? They have no idea what a Timex is. um, so my mom, she had passed the day after the Super Bowl last year. And my brother's favorite team is the Chiefs, and they were in the Super Bowl. So we watched the Super Bowl with my mom on that Sunday, and then she had passed on Monday. And so I had wrote this poem titled Mahomes, who's the quarterback for the Chiefs. And when you break his name down in syllabic form, you know, it's actually like Ma and then Holmes. And I didn't know that when I wrote the poem was an afterthought. But so this one is titled Mahomes, because I had cracked the joke to my brother that, you know, that mommy only stayed alive another day to help the Chiefs win the Super Bowl for him. So this is titled Mahomes. The day after the game, when our mother died, jokingly, I told my brother, mommy only stayed alive one more day to help the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. He chuckled slightly and for a moment allowed his loss to morph. Excuse me. He chuckled for a moment and allowed his loss to morph into the myriad of smiles emanating from the family photos on our mother's bedroom wall. He called me stupid, but knew it to be true, at least for us, huddled around our mother's hospital bed inside our sister's home with family the day before, watching the game while watching the faint wave of our mother's nightgown rise and fall like home team fans, encouraging a field goal, hoping her lungs would rally to defeat double pneumonia in overtime and replenish her ashen indigo smile as we searched her face for the slightest excuse to call and discharge hospice, double dog daring her to signal us to make the call while we ate pizza, watching Bradley Cooper snack on sliders in the box seats. Why else would our mother charm the rapper, Trugoy the Dove from De La Soul, convincing him to exchange his eternal ticket in the omnipresent stadium for hers so she could stay another day? Doesn't dying on a Sunday surrounded by legacy make for a more empathetic poem? Like when a prodigal granddaughter, my daughter, returns after 20 years to prune her grandmother's garden, reading her scriptures with her boyfriend, who, like Strider, set quests through Mordor so his girlfriend could count the rings around the trunk of her grandmother's roots. Our mother was a tree, her afro a silver swirl, white like the tree of Gondor. Wouldn't it make for a more compelling poem, dying on Super Bowl Sunday, analyzing her post-game stats? Here lies LaForest, quarterback to 11 grandchildren, 19 grandchildren, 40 great-grandchildren, 2 great-great-grandchildren. Wouldn't dying on Super Bowl Sunday gain her Gandalf White Wizard status? But our mother chose Monday, a manic Monday, like the Bengals, not the football team, the pop group, you know, walk like an Egyptian Bengals. It's just another manic Monday. I wish it was Sunday because that's my fun day, my I don't have to run day, Bengals. My brother even had on his ceremonial Chiefs jersey and 2 sips of Bud Light left that he doesn't drink because our sister schooled him in adolescence, don't drink your own backwash. Ironically, she found Jesus and no longer doesn't drink her own backwash. But what better gift for a mother to give her son? One last down, watching from the kitchen window of the White House back in junior high while he imitated NFL gods like Sweetness and Swan, alongside his neighborhood friends, trampling through Gammy's circular garden in the middle of the backyard, crushing our grandmother's marigolds for a leaping chance at victory. Here, Raymond, here's one last flower just for you. For the time your siblings sat you on that radiator and gave you the name Checkered Butt. For losing one daughter who only lived for a day, then the other 6 months before me. For the time Chris Rock roasted you in the front row, then bought you a drink after the show because he thought your ceremonial jersey represented the Redskins. Cherish this win for the entire year. You've earned your fantasy football bragging rights for taking me dancing at the casinos on Saturday nights so I could outlast the millennials a quarter my age. And tell Mahomes he is welcome for conversing with our native ancestry, who dared me to tickle God's ear and whisper into ether how to extend my maternal, to make the ref make the pass interference call, to make the Chiefs win the game so that my son could sit bedside by his mother and smile and laugh and cry for one last season, in one last quarter, for one last second, and win while he lost.
Oh, beautiful.
I think that's my time.
Oh, yes, and boy,
Thank
that
you.
was a wonderful one to end with. Holy Toledo.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you for listening. Thank you.
Now, Frederick-Douglass, will that appear in Sinking in Moonlight?
Yes, it will. I am recently out, I'm fishing for publication. So we will be out there sooner or later. You know how that publication route goes. So soon. But that poem, both poems actually will be in the book.
And by the way, the congratulations on your gambling event too. That was just brilliant. A brilliant play.
Oh, thank you. I was very thankful for that. That I got the grant and the poet laureates that came out and supported. It was and the community came out and it was lovely. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Well, time to move on to our last poet for this evening. I'm delighted to introduce Patricia Martin, who is an author, poet, and freelance writer who has been featured at numerous events, festivals, on radio and television, and published in various periodicals and anthologies. She created and hosted a monthly open mic event called Speakeasy, which ran for 3 years until COVID hit. The author of 6 nonfiction books, a poetry collection called In Venice I Could Sing, and a haiku booklet titled Is Love So Fickle? She also recorded a spoken word music CD with composer, producer, musician Gus Mancini. In 2023, Patricia was honored by the National Beat Poetry Foundation with the title of State of Connecticut Beat Poet Laureate, a position she'll retain through 2025. So please welcome Patricia Martin. Ooh. Are you there, Patricia? Oh, where is she? Oh, wait, you're under Jack Sheedy, but you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Here I am. Okay, hi. Yeah, I'm Patricia Martin, but you know, I'm actually, my pseudonym is Jack Sheedy. That's my husband. So anyway, I'm just so honored to be a part of this evening. I am just touched and blown away with all of the other poets. I was like in tears of, you know, touching. being touched by their honesty and their integrity and their talent. So thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this night. Yeah, so I am happy to be presenting some poetry. I thought I would start with some interesting, odd things. I do photography sometimes, and I do have my haiku book. It's Love So Fickle, as was mentioned. And so this, I don't know if you can see it. Oh, yes, you can, kind of. It's my Buddha on a boulder on my side yard, taken in the snow. And so I wrote a haiku and made this postcard that I give out at readings and events and such. And the haiku is Buddha on a boulder, serene and inscrutable, sees beyond the snow. Then I sometimes collaborate with this wonderful artist named Gay Shem. She has a studio at Whiting Mills in Winstead, but she teaches at the Silver Mine School in New Canaan and actually around the globe. So we did an experiment where she asked me to pick a piece of her artwork and write a poem for it. And so this is the artwork, which is very intriguing. You see the figure and the figure. And so I call it, and this actually was picked for the International and National Beat Poetry Society Goddess Anthology, which is just being published now. It's called, and her piece is called Threshold. I wrap myself around myself like the rod of Asclepius. I stand before myself. Looming larger, I step away from the darkness and find the door now unveiled, compelling me to walk through. I stand naked in the light, the shadow of myself growing stronger. I follow it, step into myself, feel my wings opening, uplifting, ready to fly. So that was fun. And then Gay took one of my poems and made it into this amazing piece of art, which I know you can't read, but you can see how compelling it is. So she took one of my poems, which I will read from In Venice I Could Sing. You probably can't see this, it's too shiny. It's called What is Sweet, What is Good. And I wrote it kind of as an FU to the pandemic. I don't know how to put it any other way. So let me find it. I apologize for, flipping through my poetry book because I'm kind of doing this like as I go along. Not here. What is sweet? What is good? Oh, I thought it was in here. Maybe it's not. Oh, here it is. Okay, it's towards the end. No wonder. Okay. I was just so mad at the pandemic. It's like, I'm not going to give in to negativity and desperation and despondency. What is sweet? What is good? Now is the time to recall what is sweet, what is good. In the face of darkening days, in the face of facts and exaggerations, in the face of fear and fear-mongering that is relentlessly in our face. We need to pause, to tune out, to turn away, and just breathe quietly, letting peace sink in, at least for a while, to just take that moment to moment. We need to recall and call upon what is sweet, what is good, simple pleasures that give us joy, like a bed made with freshly laundered sheets, stirring a fragrant soup simmering on the stove, watching the bouncing prance of a happy dog, picking up a cat that reaches up to be hugged, hearing a good friend's voice over the phone, feeling the brisk spring wind softly slap your face alive, noticing the first new buds are on a venerable old tree, catching a glimpse of the golden glow of sunlight at those certain hours, receiving the texted photo of a new baby born amidst chaos, looking for all the world like Buddha, focusing on what is sweet, what is good, to make you feel so alive in this moment. So that was one of my pandemic dealing with poems. I was honored to be a part of an initiative called Hair in the Wind, which was international. It was initiated by an artist, Angie, in Italy, and it reached international recognition. It was actually premiered in Milan, and it was called The Hair in the Wind. Had to do with it was in response to that young woman who was killed in Iran for having a lock of hair escape her hijab. And it was to promote awareness of and support of and to deter, sexual harassment and all of the atrocities that are bestowed upon women in a misogynistic society. So I submitted a poem that was accepted. The parameters were 15 lines. And I did it in honor of my grandmother. And it's called Women Dance Away. Traveling alone from the old country, her hair blowing in the ocean wind, the grandmother I loved caught the eye of her future abusive husband. When I became of age, she crooked a finger at me, speaking in broken English. Men are no good. Men are beasts. You stay away from men. A few years later, I understood the burden of being a woman. With beauty that attracts and taunts, we are your beloved angels. We are the devils you despise. We are the ones you long to possess. We are the ones you loathe. Eluding your lust, you blame us for inflaming your desire, punishing us with the untamed atrocities of masculinity. You shroud us to diminish our flame, yet you cannot. We will go barefoot, shake our hair loose as we dance away, dance away, dance away, as we always have, as we always will. And so I take my grandmother's hand. And then I wrote this poem for, it was based on a photograph that I saw. I love the Washington Post. And they had a photo after when the war broke out, when Russia attacked the Ukraine, and people were, they were leaving and going over the border to Poland. And there were many mothers. I read this article about mothers, having babies and newborns. And these Polish women set up, it was an amazing black and white photo of all of these baby carriages and strollers that were filled with baby products, waiting for the Ukraine mothers to arrive and assist them in the transition from this horrible situation. So it's called Ukraine Mothers, All Mothers. Raw instinct, naturally fierce, stroking the soft cheek of their child, cloaking them from wind and rain, dodging bullets and bombs, Mothers would fearlessly confront a pouncing tiger, throw themselves in front of an attacking tank, shield their newborn when havoc and mayhem are shrieking all around them, hunkering in makeshift bunkers, taking the brunt, facing the horror of it all to protect the precious new life that softly, slowly grew inside them, flourished in the warm ocean of their womb, forever attached, breathing as one, yet separate as the flailing arms and kicks to the belly that yearned for, fought for, demanded the ultimate freedom of gulping air. For birth is a force of nature. Life is insistent and will not be denied, even in the face of war and a mother's tear-stained face. I applaud those women so much. Okay, I would like to read the title poem of In Venice I Could Sing, just because it was fun to write. It was something that was a process I had never experienced before. I was actually watching the movie for the first time. It was Summertime, which was Katharine Hepburn later in her career. And it was an amazing movie. The cinematography and the landscape of Venice was just, so amazing. And it's like, oh, if I was watching the movie, I'm like, oh, if I was there, I could sing. Oh, I want to be there. I could sing. And I can't sing. They pay me not to sing. Okay. So this is called In Venice I Could Sing. I really think I could sing if I went to Venice, sing from my heart amidst the lush colors and exotic landscape, imagining entanglements with ripe, embracing limbs, wanton exploration of needless need, celebrating sensual pleasure. I just know I could sing. How could you not? I wish I was there as in Summertime with Katharine Hepburn, braving foreign territory, embracing adventure, skirting the intimacy I desire, hiding behind the camera lens I carry with me everywhere, hiding but watching, waiting to be unveiled, wanting to be wanted, wanting to unveil. Yes, singing could come naturally, could come easily, as naturally as breathing. That's how singing starts, among the bright colors of erotic longings, while pushing the boundaries of known existence and floating, floating, floating among ancient ruins and timeless landscapes, wrought iron, begonias, variegated coleus, colorful cafe umbrellas, tobacco, heady liqueurs, beguiling statues and leering gargoyles, lush and ripe with passion, alive with the promise of pleasure. I know I can sing. I am singing.
Wonderful. Oh, wow. Wow.
So I was writing this while I'm watching the movie. I'm like scribbling and writing. It was
wonderful.
so much fun.
Well, that's a wonderful way to bring us in. We sadly have to wind down now. We're running a little over here, but thank you so much, Patricia. You're a delight.
I'm so pleased to be a part of this. I was moved to tears in a good way. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, and thank you. Our other poets here, I know we lost Sharmont, but Frederick-Douglass, Knowles II, and also Elizabeth Thomas. Thank you. And thank you, Lucy Hanley, Ridgefield Library Adult Programs Coordinator, and everyone who joined us this evening. Thank you.
What a
you,
great
Barb.
night.
It was a great.
Take care, guys. Thank you very much, Barb. Excellent job.
Yes.
Peace, poets. Hi, Peggy.
Poets, all right. Yes, thank you, Barb.
You're welcome.
Good
And
night, all.
good night.
Night.
Night,
Thank you.